He touches her breasts way too much for me. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Hey guys, welcome back to Hidden in the Thrones. My name is Kushal Mike. I don't think I gave you my last name the first time, but I am doing so now. Welcome back to the show. I'm so excited to have how many ever of you are here with me again, as I ramble on about a book that I'm pretty sure everyone is over by now, but that's okay. I'm actually having fun doing all of this beauty hunting in this novel thus far, and if you're still here, it means I am doing something right. So if you're listening for the first time, I'm trying to finally read the Game of Thrones novels, and I thought it would be fun to document my thoughts via podcasts. Yeah, that's the only reason I have for doing this. I had already set in mind to make a podcast, and I do have another podcast called the Villain's Advocate. What is my mouth today? Ugh. It's called the Villain's Advocate, and it is a monthly podcast which you should check out. It is about taking villains from, we're starting with video games, but I'm thinking about branching out to other things, but it's basically about taking villains and looking at things from their side of view and giving them a proper defense for their actions. It premiered on January 1st right here on Anchor, so you can go ahead and check that out. It's also on YouTube, and it should be available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Like I said, it is mainly a gaming podcast, but I do want to incorporate other things, so I'm thinking about incorporating some of anime's best villains. I'm excited for that, as well as television, and I believe I'm doing Disney as well. I have plans to do Disney as well, so I'm really looking forward to creating some of those episodes. And but yeah, I really want to, I'm doing that podcast, but I really wanted to do a podcast about something that I love, which is reading and analyzing literature. So this is why we have this podcast here today, and I'm so glad that you were able to join me yet again. If you haven't already, make sure you favorite or follow or subscribe, whichever one is available, to this podcast so that we keep in touch. And feel free to leave me your voice messages if you have the Anchor app downloaded. If you don't, you can always feel free to leave me your comments on Twitter. I'm at MSMIKE772. That's Miss Mike 772. You have permission from me to at me respectfully with your observations and comments. I will share my favorite tweets and voice messages on the show. As is tradition, well, I wonder, can you call something that's been done multiple? It's once is a mistake, twice is a habit, but 3 times I guess could probably be tradition. Well, I'm calling it tradition right now. Because of where I am, you're going to hear some background noise. Today's background noise is courtesy of my brother, who is doing some welding right outside my window. I'm not sure what the heck he's doing, but I'm guessing he will just provide ambience for us today, guys. I hope you guys aren't picky about background noise, but if you are, just focus on my voice. Focus on the way that I speak. All right, so if y'all ready, I'm ready. Let's get this underway. Right, switch locations. Hopefully this is better, although I feel like I'm hearing a little bit of reverb, but we push on, we press on, guys. It comes with starting out. So anyway, I was saying that we meet Catelyn in chapter 2, and she's the wife of Eddard or Ned Stark, and we see her go to what is known as the Godwood, which is basically a church, mosque, temple, place of worship. So it's where they go to consult with their gods and I guess, meditate in a kind of way. And it's explained that Ned goes to the wood after every single time he dispenses justice, or, well, yeah, every single time that he dispenses justice. So this is a ritual for him. Catelyn doesn't like the wood. She doesn't like the ambience of it, and she goes anyway, because unfortunately she has some hard news to deliver. She has good news to deliver as well, but the more important thing was the hard news to deliver. A friend is dead, and another one is on his way after a very, very long time. I'll be honest, there's nothing particularly poignant about this chapter for me. There's nothing really significant that I could pick up on or latch on to in terms of hidden meanings or anything like that. The chapter just didn't speak to me in the way that the first two did. Okay, well, maybe now that I'm thinking about it, there's probably like one thing. I don't know how many people will agree with this being significant. In fact, a lot of you may find it probably problematic. But the way that Catelyn's dislike for the wood is described initially, it seems as if she avoids it at all costs. But because of the gravity of the news that she has to share with her husband, she put that dislike aside. For me, that kind of spells devotion. Because in the middle of what scares her the most, or what makes her uncomfortable the most, or at least a lot, she knew that she was needed. And she knew that she couldn't deliver that news in any other way. So she went to the wood that she hated anyway, and she was there to comfort him in the middle of the mess. Now, I can see why that could be problematic, because it kind of reads as if she's supposed to put aside her dislikes and make herself uncomfortable, basically, just because her husband is sad, or for the comfort of her husband, which is not what I'm promoting at all. It just, for me, it was kind of like, it was beautiful, but maybe I'm just romanticizing it. But for me, it was kind of like, it spoke a little bit about, it spoke to a little bit of devotion. But trust me when I say I see the problematic part of it as well. But I thought, I would just note that. I guess we could kind of talk about why she's kind of scared of the wood a little bit. To me, it seemed as if she was just scared because it was dark. It wasn't as if she was a stranger to God's wood. She had a God's wood back where she lived before, with her father. But that God's wood was described as airy and full of light and, just bright. Ned's Godwood was dark and had the really just creepy faces carved into the trees by the ancestors. And understandably so, it creeped her out. But it was just because the place was dark and it was just so somber and melancholy, and she just didn't like the vibe that the wood gave out. So I think she may have even felt as if it was occultic. And I find that fascinating because they both know what Godwoods are, but the environment and the ambience made the difference in her reception of Ed's gods and of his place of worship. And I guess that's probably the real thing that I found interesting. Another thing is that, and this may not be particularly fascinating either, but Ned mentions that their watch numbers were going down, not just due to deserters, but also to strange disappearances, as we know from the prologue. And he mentions that he was thinking about taking a group and checking what was going on over the wall. So that's the wall at the north of Winterfell. Catelyn expresses concern that there are other things, supernatural things, over the wall, and Ned just kind of brushes her off. So again, we have the differences in spiritual belief, or if you want to call it something else, supernatural belief. Ned thinks it's weird to think of those things because in his mind they're dead, and of course they're just dead, and Catelyn is just there at the altar of that superstition this time. So this kind of switch roles. So whereas with the wood, Catelyn doesn't believe in Ned's gods, which are referred to as the old gods, and there's a flip of the rules where Ned doesn't believe in the others. Thankfully, chapter 3 is a little busier. So in this chapter, we meet Daenerys Stormborn, who you guys excitedly know as Daenerys Targaryen, and we meet her trying to catch a man, or rather being told that she has to catch a man. We also meet her abuser, Vanerys, who also happens to be her older brother, and we meet them in the middle of preparing to go to Khal Drogo's little shindig. Khal Drogo, of course, is the chieftain of the Dothraki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it looks like Dothraki to me, and that is a whole other tribe by itself. Now, Vanerys intends to have Dany married off to the Khal so that he can have access to the Dothraki numbers or armies, and he's doing this because once upon a time the Targaryen clan were the rulers of what is collectively known as Westeros, which would include Winterfell and where King Baratheon and all of them reign. And the Targaryen clan, also known as the Dragon Clan for whatever reason, they were dethroned, and horribly so, and as they were massacred basically. And as the surviving son, he of course is determined to get all of what was lost back. So after several instances of horrid abuse and one very scented hoo-ha later, they meet the Khal, and of course the plans are set in motion. Not that Daenerys had any say in the plans, but that is neither here nor there at this point. At the beginning of the chapter, Vanerys' first words are, "This is beauty." I mean, he's showing her a dress. He's showing her the dress that she's supposed to wear at Khal Drogo's little get-together or whatever it is, feast or whatever. And he tells her, "This is beauty." He's not asking her, "Isn't this beautiful?" as, a normal person would ask somebody, "What do you think? This dress is beautiful?" No. He tells her specifically, "This is beauty." He's telling her what her opinion should be. He's outlining her picture of, or opinion, well, picture and opinion of what should be beautiful. Not that doesn't happen in more subtle ways in the real world, but he's quite literally telling her that this is what is beautiful now, and this is the only thing that is the scale that you should measure beauty with. Everything else is garbage. And this is the line, for me at least, that sets the tone for the kind of relationship that we're going to see later down in the book. It's not that Daenerys doesn't know what she wants. Several times in chapter, we get to see what she wants. For instance, she wanted to play with the children in the street and be carefree, and more importantly, free. She also wanted to go back to the life that was waiting for her beyond the Red Door, which is they were living in a particular place. They were hopping from place to place, but there was a time when they were living in a house with a lord, and after the lord died, they were put out, and that place had a red door. And she was talking about it was mentioned that she lived with a house with a red door, and she had a lemon tree outside her window, and she was happy there, and that's what the life that she knew, and she wanted to go back there basically. she wanted to go home as well when she realized that she would have to marry the Khal, and she saw his height and everything, and she became afraid because this girl is only 13 years old and she's being forced to marry this 20-something-year-old guy, and he's just big and tall and there, and she's just quite literally little. And she also wanted to ask a question of the slave that she saw with the bronze collar, because one of her servants, when they were preparing her to come to the party, they told her that even the Khal's slaves have gold, because they were trying to play up how rich she was and how lucky she was and all that jazz. And she saw the slave with like a bronze collar, and she wanted to ask a question even then. She has her wants. She's confident in her wants. It's clear that she is. But Vanerys is this very heavy, weighty presence, imposing his will upon her without consideration for who she is as a person. He writes her narrative, and he's holding that pen as tightly as he did her nipple. Two more quick things, because I don't want this podcast to be entirely too long. So two more quick observations. One, the throne is obviously the most important thing for Vanerys, and that is completely obvious. He told Dany that he would let the whole Dothraki clan and their horses have sex with her if that is what it would take to reacquire the throne that his father was horribly booted out of. This is this girl's brother, her blood brother, who is supposed to be protective of her and watching over her, in spite of, whatever anger that he has towards everybody else. This is somebody that he's supposed to cherish, and he's saying that he would let these men take advantage of her if it meant getting back his throne. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I already want to see his head on a spike. But even with all that, I don't think it's a vacuous power thing where we just have to have a villain and that's why the author did that. I honestly believe that Vanerys there's a hole that is in Vanerys' soul that he's really just trying to fill. And now that everyone else is gone, because his elder brother was killed, his mother died in childbirth while she was birthing Dany, everything in this world is just gone, and he's trying to reclaim that and to fill the hole in his heart and in his soul, and to try to find his place. Because I don't think he really feels, he says that he's like, a dragon. He refers to himself as a dragon, but I don't think he feels like very much of a dragon. I think he feels very afraid. He feels more like a lizard than a dragon. And he's trying to reclaim all that, to take back some of that power that was taken from him when, his family was so brutally booted from the throne and where they were just exiled. I certainly hope that he doesn't hold that delusion. I really hope that, that is not the case, because it's a misinformed, miscalculated, and it's a sad notion to have. But I honestly do believe that he is trying to fill that space and that hole, and he doesn't exactly know how. Second quick thing. There's a point where they're preparing Dany to go to the feast, and one of the servants takes Dothraki spices and she places it behind her ears. I remember it's behind her ears, and all on the appropriate perfume points. But the lady also puts perfume on her titties and her hoo-ha. Now, it could just be to smell nice, bullcrap. It's not to smell nice. That was a branding, people. I don't know if for those of you who have read the book, or I'm not sure if it made it to the show, but for those of you who have read the book, y'all know that was a branding, right? That was a tagging. That was telling Daenerys basically, yeah, you're as good as the Khals. Those don't belong to you anymore. Your privates don't belong to you anymore. You don't belong to you anymore. Not that she ever did belong to herself, but that was like the final straw, and that was the benediction, basically. And it's kind of it's infuriating, because she's just going from one owner to the other. She's not getting to be a child, and we fail to remember that this girl is a child. And it's absolutely just disgusting. So I those are the two quick observations that I thought I would make. And I don't know, man. I don't know. This Vanerys is a piece of work. The whole clan is a piece of work. I just hope Khal is less of a piece of work than the rest of they are, because Daenerys already needs a break. And right here is where we're gonna stick and stay. I have 2 more chapters to read, but yeah, I feel like chapter 2, that would be with Catelyn, it was very tame. And then we have chapter 3 that just, I guess, made up for all the shenanigans that should have probably happened in chapter 2. I guess that's why chapter 2 was so meh. They knew that they were gonna come with this tomfoolery with Vanerys from the jump. But I just want to say, I already want to see Vanerys's head on a spike. I want to see him dead. He's an abusive guy, and he's abusive in every sense of the word. And poor Dany, poor Dany. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the episode for today. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever is available that is positive. Leave positive reviews wherever you get your podcasts. I will be back day after tomorrow, God willing, to talk about the next 2 chapters. And make sure you leave me your tweets at MSMIKE772 on Twitter. Leave me your voice messages if you're on the Anchor app and you would like to contribute to the show. I will play them as much as I can and respond to them with my comments as well. Thanks for listening, guys, and I will see you in the very next one. Take care. Stay safe. I'm gone.